And so without further ado, let's begin the review of Sony's brand new PMW100 camera. Now it starts out PMW, what does that immediately make you think of? Our buddies, the EX3 and the EX1. So this is in Sony's XD-Cam EX line of camcorders, which means it's recording to S/S cards. The same that you'll find in the EX1, the EX3, the F3, anything that starts with a PMW basically is in this line of camcorders. What sets it apart from the big brothers EX1 and EX3? Its capacity to record at 50 megabits per second in the 422 color space. All right, so this brings it sort of on par with the PDW F800 and the PDW700. These guys can record at the higher bit rate of 50 megabits per second. That's kind of our theme tonight, 50 megabits per second. For instance, if you're recording here or on an 800 at 50 megabits per second, you can bring it right into Midtown Video, upload that data in real time on our 50 megabit per second upload bandwidth. Pretty fantastic. Make sure if you guys have questions, Debbie's sitting here moderating the chat room, and she will interrupt me to present your questions to me, sort of if you need any clarification on anything. I need a little clarification. Verge, can you bring up slide number 1, please? Awesome. Let's start with the physical attributes of the PMW100. First and foremost, the power switch. How many times have you fought with the power switch on your EX1 or your EX3? No more. Now we've got a fancy, awesome 2-position power switch rather than a 1-position power switch. Yeah, there we are. So here it is. You got off on the right, on the left. Now you're saying to yourself, uh-oh, how do I get into media mode? Media mode is really simple. That's on this handle here. Right there. We're going to hit the thumbnail button, and that brings you into media mode. Do you want to see how fast you can go in and out of media mode? Check this out. Thumbnail button, bam, right into media mode. Pretty good. And on EX3, it's like 10 times as long. So very fast switching between thumbnail and camera mode. Very easy 2-position power switch that's not very difficult to sort of turn the camera off. That's a big improvement over some of its other brothers. All right, one situation in where it falls slightly short of the EX1 and the EX3 is in the chip size. So it's still the Exmor sensor, right? It's the same piece of hardware that does the light capture and the A to D conversion, analog to digital conversion. That's the Exmor line of chips. But this one is 1/2.9 inches. That is a funny way to say that. It's about 1/3 of an inch, all right? The chips are about 1/3 of an inch in diagonal, just slightly larger than 1/3 of an inch, so they're smaller than the 1/2-inch EX3 and EX1 chips. You're going to do slightly worse in the low light performance capability, but it has one awesome low light feature that we're going to get into a little bit later. All right, let's talk about the lens for a second. It's a 10 times captive lens, 5.4 millimeters at its widest. So in a 35 millimeter space, that's about 40 millimeters. And on the zoomiest, it's about 400 millimeters on the 35 millimeter space. Here's your lens. It's only got one ring, all right? But that one ring, you've got a switch right here to switch whether it's doing zoom or focus. So it is an infinity focus, all right? What do you expect, man? This is an inexpensive camera. It's about $39.80. You get a $500 rebate, so it's like $3,500 to buy. You're not going to get that fancy 14x Fujinon lens. You are going to get this awesome 10x Fujinon lens, however. Might not be Fujinon, but it's a 10x lens. One ring, it can either be zoom or focus. I like to leave it in focus. I like to do my zooming from the little zoom rocker switch right here. Pretty simple. You've also got a zoom rocker switch on the handle. Right here, zoom rocker switch. You can be in low, medium, or high speed on the zoom rocker switch, or you can even turn it off. So if you only want to do zooming from the right-hand side, you can do so. It takes the same BPU batteries as the EX1 and EX3, also the same BPU charger, BPU power supply, and the S/S cards. This is a member of the EX line, all right? This camera is a direct descendant of the EX1 and EX3 to the point that it even has the same hyper gamma options. You can save camera data on an EX1, load that camera data onto this PMW100, and voila, fantastic. All right, a couple other quick items of note. It's got a shoe mount on the front and a stud mount on the back. Sometimes you end up buying yourself an on-camera light and you're like, man, I should have got the stud mount version, or man, I should have got the shoe mount version. No problem, this camera's got both, so buy yourself an on-camera light and feel confident that you can mate it onto the PMW100. What is this camera going to be awesome for? I'm going to give you reality television shoots. If you're shooting a reality television shoot with 7 or 8 PMW F800s, but you just want to have one pickup shot, or you want to do some at-night shooting, I highly recommend the PMW100. We're going to come back to that theme more and more throughout the review, but let's continue on with our physical attributes, shall we? So there's a full auto button, very important. And when you hit that full auto button, full auto lights up. That handles your gain control. That handles your white balance control. It handles your TLCS control. Sony guys, you know what I'm talking about here. Anyway, it lights up when it's on, and it turns off when it's off. We recommend not shooting in full auto unless, you really, really have to. White balance and gain switches. This I'm actually impressed with. Let's go to Jose for a sec. Right here is my gain switch. I've got low, medium, and high. I can set that to 0, 9, and 18, or 0, 6, and 9. You can internally in the menu control what the gain switch values relate to, but this is what you find in a professional camera, right? This little silver knob. Additionally, white balance is exactly the same. Preset, it's factory default at 3200. Then you've got 2 memory positions, A and B, where you can sort of switch the knob to A, hit the white balance button to do an auto white balance. You also have the opportunity to set B as auto tracking white. So you can have 1 memory position at A, your preset position in preset, and if you need auto tracking white, flip that little silver knob into B, and the white balance changes in the camera automatically. To sort of round out the physical attributes and to expand on our theme of reality television, check this out. HD SDI output, absolutely vital. If you've got a broadcast camera, you can get away with connecting to a switcher, connecting to a monitor, this sort of thing. It does have HDMI for your other kinds of monitors, but if you want a nice locking connector, it's got to be BNC, and it's got to be HD SDI. Here you are, you have both of them. You do have the capacity to have them both live at the same time, thankfully. It's so frustrating when you want to have your monitor up here and connect to a switcher, but you can only have one output live at once. Sony has allowed us to have HD SDI and HDMI output live at the same time. You guys feel me, right? Have you been frustrated by? I'm going to go with yes. Right below HD SDI is something kind of innovative, all right? Timecode in/out and Genlock in/video out. So this is for hooking up multiple cameras at the same time. Again, you're on the set, you've got 3 F800s and 2 700s, and you're recording to discs, and you're shooting a reality television show, but you needed one camera that was under $4,000 to throw into the mix. PMW100 is right here. You can bring your timecode and Genlock in from another camera, or from your timecode distribution amplifier, your Genlock distribution amplifier. Make that all happen right here. If you're not bringing timecode in, let's say that this is the master, you can set this switch. Let me get Jose on a close-up. You can set this switch from in to out. And now I'm taking timecode out of this camera and bringing video out of this camera. You can use that to be your Genlock source. Just like in EX3, you've got monitor out and timecode out. This will do the same thing, although to make it less expensive for you, they combined 4 connectors into 2 connectors and gave you a hardware switch. Before we leave physical attributes, and it's with the DSLR revolution and everybody shooting on their 5Ds and 7Ds, I now have to specify whether or not a camera has XLR inputs. When you get a camera from Sony, you know it's got 2 XLR inputs, mic line and mic plus 48 volts, input 1 and input 2. You can shoot in 4 channels of audio. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But let's talk about these 2 microphone inputs right here. What might you want to put on here? The answer is a stereo shotgun microphone. Now, Sony wasn't able to get us one in time for the show, but I do want to mention, before we go any further, you can pick up an ECMMS2. All right, so 2 M's, there's a 2 in there, and there's an S for stereo. That is a shotgun mic that sits mounted right in the shotgun mic holder. It has 2 XLR inputs right in here. It has a very funny-looking fuzzy windscreen. Don't leave without your ECMMS2 stereo shotgun microphone for the PMW100.